He speaks over 1,000 languages because of what he was conditioned to learn while he was frozen. And still, when he sees Asian people, Wesley Snipes is all ching chong. God, Demolition Man, that's a movie, huh? And welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, Sejan Sarowick. Sejan.
Demolition Man is definitely a movie. Yes, yes, indeed.
Oh, good. This is what this episode's going to be. I guess, full disclosure, Sejan's got a wicked head cold, so he's not going to be as pithy or witty as usual.
I'm sorry. Did you want me to be pithy and witty about Demolition Man? Because I can give it a swing.
I'd like you to try something about the 3 seashells.
It should have demolished his career.
Oh, dang. My favorite thing about Demolition Man, this is not what the episode's about, but my favorite thing about Demolition Man is that Sylvester Stallone meets Rob Lowe while working on it and is like, this guy. I'm going to put this guy in Judge Dredd.
So is he the Demolition Man, or is Wesley Snipes the Demolition Man?
No, Sylvester Stallone's John Spartan is the Demolition Man.
Is he ever referred to that in the movie?
All the time.
Yeah?
Like 4 or 5 times he's referred to as the Demolition Man.
I saw one screenshot where it's a Pizza Hut instead of a Taco Bell, and I just could never go back.
That's outside of America, because Taco Bell is not known outside of America.
I know.
So the European release, Pizza Hut, won the fast food wars.
It just make all the more sense.
I mean,
what is he demolishing? Just pizza.
Oh yeah.
So why is it Demolition Man then? That's my question. Because I feel like Wesley Snipes is definitely the Demolition Man in that movie.
So the reason why John Spartan is referred to as the Demolition Man is he's a cop, but he doesn't care about collateral damage.
Right.
So it's not like a good nickname. It's one of those situations where great, here's the Demolition Man.
Right.
Oh, I guess
he's the hero of this film, right?
I think the real hero of the film is Dennis Leary's Guy Friendly.
Fair enough. The leader of the underground resistance there.
Yeah. That has to be, without a doubt. The real hero of Demolition Man is the person who is like, oh, we can't make Sandra Bullock his daughter.
Yeah,
and they're like, what?
But she's so clearly his daughter. She so clearly is his daughter.
Yeah, but they're going to have sex. We can't make her his daughter.
Yeah, but we have a lot of things that imply that they are related in a lot of ways.
Right, but as long as we don't explicitly say it, we're in the clear. Think about it. Luke and Leia kiss, everybody's fine with that. Luke and Leia are a sister and brother 2 episodes later, everybody loses their shit. And we still talk about it.
Right, that was the problem, is the acknowledgement that they were siblings and not the...
Not the fact that they were siblings in the first time and kissed. That's fine. But it's when you point it out, oh, they're related.
Yeah.
Also, you know what I have a problem with regarding that? I have a real issue with the fact that we are imparting our own social taboos on, the space people.
I'm sorry, are you talking about referring to things like incest?
Yeah. We don't know. We don't know what this space stuff is. We don't know if it's cool up in space. And
it's a slippery slope. The second you start saying incest is a taboo, then what isn't a taboo?
No, that's not what this is. That is not the feeling of the Say Report. I'm just saying we don't know how things roll in space. We know how things roll in the real world, but we don't know how they roll in space. And for us to look at a galaxy far, far away and be like, you better not be sleeping with people you're related to, that's xenophobic and imperialistic.
There it is. There's our stance on the Say Report.
I'm talking fictionally, just fictionally. That's it. That's where I'm coming towards this. I'm coming for, in this fictional universe, we shouldn't impart real world beliefs and taboos onto fictional universes. I think that's a fair argument. And I think that's going to be the thesis statement of this 4th season of the Say Report. Welcome to season 4. I can't believe it's been 4. This is the start of the 4th year. It's crazy.
Yeah, right? And here we go, everybody.
And we're not wearing blindfolds this week.
No. This week, that's why we're so much quicker this week, is because we can.
I can read my script. We don't script.
We don't script anything. Clearly.
What are we, Chris Hardwick?
Oh.
I blame Borderlands 3 for that remark that I just made. So welcome to the Say Report. It's a show about everything. And if you're just joining us, welcome to Season 4 of the Say Report. A lot of great 4s out there. Resident Evil 4, a lot of people say, is the best Resident Evil. Fast and the Furious, the 4th in that series, is the one that really was the turning point in terms of making that a worldwide action franchise.
And let's not forget the beloved Alien Resurrection, which is considered the best of those films that everybody just joyously holds up on its shoulders.
I haven't seen it, so I can't tell if you're being sincere or not.
I am not. I'm not
I
being
know you're
sincere.
not. I fully... Final Fantasy IV was like my first favorite Final Fantasy game.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that, even though we were calling it Final Fantasy II at the time. Yeah, there's a lot of good 4s. House Party 4 is not Siegen's favorite house party. That's House Party 2.
Yep. I'm glad that you know these things about me.
Well, I guess the start is the grand adventure, huge air quotes around that Will and I had on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
In which, spoilers for something that's going to happen sometime on the Say Report, because I don't want Siegen to be surprised by it either. My mother asked me if Hackers is the kind of movie that I know every line to. And the answer is yes. The answer is most probably yes.
Before we go any further, let's just lay this line out. Yes.
Yeah. So it's of course. I mean, I watched it at least 52 times in a row, probably closer to 60. Yeah, I know every line of Hackers. And she's like, that's very cool. But then I was like, but do I know every line of Hackers? And it started to bother me. So I contacted our resident quizmaster, Will Fournier, and I asked him, hey, Will, would you be willing to watch Hackers and write up a Q quiz for me? Now, a Q quiz, I'm calling it that. Maybe we can think of a better title for it together. Maybe he'll think of a better one. But it comes from acting, because in acting you have to pick up cues. So he is going to come up with a list of, I think, 10 to 15 questions, and he's going to read me a line, and I need to respond with the next line of dialogue.
Oh boy. Yes, I'm excited for this.
You should be excited for this because you get to gang up on me. This is your chance to make up for all those quizzes you've taken and let's say not excelled at. Is that the nicest way I can say it? Probably not.
I appreciate it. Well approved.
Yeah.
Standardized testing is a lie. All it proves is that you've been taught to the test.
You just memorize the answers. You can't think real world. But yeah, so he's doing it. So then he's like, but it's only fair while we're driving, and I'll get to what we did on the adventure. But while we're driving, he's like, we need to figure out for Siegen the movie that he could do that for. Like, what's Siegen's Hackers? And my answer was House Party 2.
House Party 2. Oh, man.
Because House Party 2 was like the movie you didn't shut up about the first year that I met you. Talked about it so much. And it makes me happy that I tested that theory that it's a movie you care a lot about in this episode and was proven correct. But
I mean, it is a very fun movie. I don't know if it's a movie that I would call my love. That I don't know. If you asked me to tell you a line right now from it without Q, I don't know if I could. We're
having a house party too.
I'm Kid, he's Play, and we're here to say, right?
It's house party 2, and we're going away to a mansion in Miami or something, because I don't think it takes place at their house. Right. I think that's what sequels do. Sequels in the 80s had a very formulaic approach, and Harold and Kumar beautifully followed this, where the first episode, or first in the franchise, is just the movie. It gets to stand on its own. But in the second one, you gotta go somewhere.
Right.
The nerds are in paradise. Harold and Kumar are in Guantanamo Bay. The Griswolds are European vacation. Like, you need to get outside your comfort zone. And then the third movie, Christmas. Because by that time, we've seen you at home, we've seen you away. What better place to shine than Christmas?
Yeah, no, I mean the third one had to be a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's how it works. So yeah, so that's that. But of course, because I got to choose Hackers, you would get to choose your movie. We're not going to make you take a House Party 2 quiz.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Man.
So just something to be thinking about. We're definitely going to do the Hackers quiz way before we do the Sieging quiz. And maybe we'll never do the Sieging quiz, but I want you to be excited for getting to gang up on me.
Here's the thing.
Will.
I don't know if I can think of a movie that I have yet watched or would be willing to watch every Friday for like a year and 3 weeks, a year and a month.
A year and 2 months, really. Yeah. I think that's what I did. I'm taking a month off. I haven't watched it at all this January. So yeah, that was fun. It's been fun. But yeah, but think about it. And if not, you just get to make me look like a jerk when I forget, like, obscure lines from Hackers.
Mm.
I mean, this is a movie that it wasn't until my 47th viewing I realized that a pizza guy shows up during one of the montages and then is there for the remainder of the montage.
Oh man,
like that was, and I'm just like, oh, that's cool. I didn't realize that. And Dale, like, how many times have you seen this movie?
And this character just suddenly inserted itself into it, like fucking like Abed in Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's good stuff. But yeah, so there you go. So the grand adventure that Will and I had is he wanted to see Harvard, so I picked him up in Harvard.
Was there a reason he wanted to see Harvard of all places?
Well, he was staying in Waterton, Boston. First of all, Will came by to visit his niece because he's an uncle now. So Will's an uncle. Liz had a baby. Congratulations to the Fournier clan growing up and growing out. So he came down to visit New York and his sister, and then he's like, I'm going to come down to Boston. And then I volunteered to pick him up in Boston and drive him back to Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's... Will and I really, like, shine when we're driving in a car together.
It's a good environment for you two, for sure.
Yeah. So we decided that's what we're going to do. So he's like, why don't you pick me up in Harvard? So I drive to Harvard, and I'm there. Like, there's the gate to Harvard. That's where Will Hunting enters Harvard every day. And I find this spot that literally no other car but my little Spark could fit in.
Nice.
Legal spot and all this, and I park there. And Will drops a pin for where he is, and I'm like, cool, I'll walk over. I work it out. He's an hour walk away from me. I'm like, so I'm going to drive over to you. I don't know where you are, but you ain't at Harvard. Because I'm at Harvard Yard. He was at a little coffee shop, which I wish I could remember the name of, because it was excellent coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Common Grounds, maybe. And
okay.
I'll have the actual name next week. So I don't want to
Common
look it up
Grounds
now.
makes sense. It's over in. It's actually closer to the Boston Commons, which is again nowhere near Harvard.
Yeah.
So, man.
So he's at this coffee shop, and I'm like, oh, cool. So I'll drive over to you. So I get him. He got me a lovely Americano that ruined me for coffee. Because, when you have, like, fresh ground beaned coffee, like, all other coffee tastes like garbage.
I mean, well, yeah. Coffee is mostly garbage. We just love putting it in our body because it wakes us up in the morning. Literally after that, it's just compost.
True. I mean, I tend to drink it black anyway, so I'm already kind of hitting it. So when I can get a good black cup of coffee, that's really what ruins me.
Yeah, there you go.
Is like, oh, this tastes good and it's black. Like,
yeah, I got a peanut butter chocolate coffee for Christmas, and it's important to note that it doesn't taste like that. Those elements are literally just part of the ingredient list on like the thing, and it is amazing. I don't know what I'm gonna do once I finish it because it's not a normal bag of coffee.
Couldn't you buy more? Or no?
I don't. It was given to me as a gift, so I'm gonna have to track that person down and demand to know where they got it.
Hopefully, it wasn't like a white elephant party.
Because,
how are you gonna get like? I don't know who gave this coffee.
Yes.
That'd
really
be like
blanket from my white elephant at Netflix. Got to track that person down too.
This would be like a real good episode of a TV show, like a Seinfeld or a Curb Your Enthusiasm, trying to figure out who gave a gift in a white elephant.
You're not supposed to ask about the gift. Yeah,
but I love the gift. Not only do I want to thank them for it personally, I'd like more of them.
just want some coffee. Coffee. That's all I want.
Go Google it. I'm sure it's got a name. Just Google it.
That's
What
true.
is wrong with you?
That's actually a fair life point.
I know, but it's more fun, like, to think about you. Like you got the beautiful mind board. Like, all right, it wasn't Genevieve. She can't be near coffee.
Right. I know that she got the shitty blanket for me that ended up in this white elephant, so it couldn't have been in this one as well.
Right. Thank God she got fired. But yeah, so it's just, it's good. It's fun. But yeah, so we go and I pick him up and we drive and we go to Proclamation Brewery in Warwick, Rhode Island. I'll give them a little shout out. Not a sponsor. Because Will, I had shipped him out some beers from Proclamation over the summer. Because he's like, I need to get these beers. I need them. And you're the only one who can do this. So Dale went on a Friday. She's like, yeah, there was a line around the brewery for this beer. Like, it's special edition beer. It's crazy. She bought it. We shipped it over to Will. We had a good time.
Did you buy some for yourselves as well?
Oh, yeah. She got like 3 little cases of it. 4 packs. That's what she got. Yeah, she made sure that if she's there for like special beer, she got some for us too.
Good.
Otherwise, Will, sorry, there wasn't any. No, it was good. It was a fuzzy unicorn. It was delicious. So it's like I figure we stop off there first, and then we go from there. So we stop, and we each get a couple of beers, and they have a Simpsons arcade game there. And I started out with a confession about the last time I was there. I ran into somebody, and like I just kind of bounced after finishing my beer, like avoiding eye contact because I didn't want to talk to them. Mm-hmm. And Will's like, oh, I thought your thing was going to be, I love the Simpsons arcade game and we have to play it. And I'm like, Will, do you want to go play the Simpsons arcade game? And he's like, well, yeah, if we can. So nice. So we go over and it's free. It's just you push a button to get the credits. So we played and beat the Simpsons arcade game, which is exciting because now Will gets to be on my list of completed games for 2020 as a co-op partner. So that's exciting, right? Like you're going to be on there for Borderlands 3. I like when my friends beat games with me, and I get to share that with people.
Yeah, funny enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So then from Proclamation, Dale was going to a documentary event that was semi-sponsored by the aquarium. The Life and Times of Mike Drury. We were saying Mike Drew Carey because it was easier than pronouncing his real last name.
Nice.
Druar something Y. Like there's an extra letter in there that makes it difficult to pronounce. So she was seeing that, and that was at 7. So we met her at the Jealous Monk, the little beer hall that's by Mystic Aquarium now. I figured that Will, he runs a bar, so he might enjoy seeing this bar. But the best part about the Jealous Monk is they have like fully leaned into the fact that they're a German beer hall. Like that's what they're going for. And they now have liter steins of only their stuff. And it was happy hour, so it was cheaper to get a liter of beer.
God, I live in a place where liter steins are not allowed and happy hour is illegal. It is so...
Well, I mean, happy hour is illegal in Rhode Island. That's why I go to Connecticut or Massachusetts for my happy hours. So we drank there. Dale and my mother met us, so we had a lovely thing. Plus, they had the best $5 bacon mac and cheese I've ever had. Mm-hmm. Like, that was some good mac. Oh, damn, that was some good mac. And then we get in the car, and we start driving. The long trek across Connecticut. Because if you've never driven across Connecticut, Connecticut is just a waste zone.
And it exists in a time and space that is unlike the rest of the world. Yeah, it takes forever to get through Connecticut, even though you've only been driving for 2 hours.
Yeah, there's a time dilation that it's nuts. And it's so boring. Like, I realize that going through Connecticut again is that it's just not visually stimulating in the way that, like, Massachusetts or even Rhode Island are. Like, because the scenery changes in both of those states as you're driving down 95 in a way that Connecticut doesn't. Like, even, I'm on a bridge, but I'm just on a bridge. Like, it's not like a beautiful,
it doesn't even seem to be going over any water or anything. Why is this bridge
Why
here?
am I on the bridge right now? So we're driving through Connecticut and dealing with this time dilation. And it's like, we should do something. And I have always wanted to go to Westport, Connecticut. This is a secret, desire of mine. because it is the setting of American Housewife, starring I can't think of her last name, and I'm very upset about that. Diedrich Bader is the husband, and Katie Mixon plays the titular American Housewife.
Nice.
Also, Julia Butters, who kicked ass in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, plays the youngest daughter. So watch American Housewife. I'm really rooting for American Housewife this season. It got shifted to Friday night, which is sort of where shows go to die.
Right, the death knell, yeah.
And I don't want it to end because I really, really like American Housewife.
What are they in, season 3?
Season 4. It's the 4th season.
Season 4?
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's
a damn good run for a show. I mean, 4 seasons nowadays is
especially a show that, like, everybody was like, this show's never going to last because the pilot was the second fattest housewife in Westport, Connecticut. Like, that was the title. And then, and that's my favorite part about that is that has still leaked into marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, second best mom on her coffee mug in some of the promotional shots. And I'm that made sense when, like, the second thing was the point
part
of the
title,
show.
But it's not there anymore.
Because Dale's like, she would never have a mug like that. And I'm like, I know, it's an artifact of what this show used to be called. It's crazy.
You know what that is? That's a reference just for Devon.
Yeah, that's in a lot of ways. And the show, in a lot of ways, is about the closest thing we're probably going to get to a Deckers as a television show. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because Katie Mixon's character, she's Dorothy Decker, like, just through and through. Like, there's not even, like, a little bit that's not my mother. And then their son, Oliver, like, just the conversations that these two characters have, I would swear that there's a little bug in our house and they're just writing down things that we say to each other.
So you wanted to go to Westport to go see where the show is.
So I kind of wanted to, like,
based.
as a homeland, like, Mecca visit to Westport, Connecticut. So we get off the exit for Westport, but I stupidly took a left instead of a right. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me.
And then you're lost in Connecticut forever.
So,
it owns you now. Are you recording live from Connecticut?
I wish. No, we were able to escape. And here's why. Driving down this road, I believe it was Route 7 in Connecticut, in Westport, Connecticut, heading left took us into Winton, Connecticut. And we saw in the distance a shimmering light. Not the Hotel California or the Hotel Connecticut, as the case may be, but a place called OREMS. OREMS, apostrophe S, right?
Okay.
For ownership. And we see this place, and, like, immediately Will and I are like, we should go to OREMS. Like, this is the place we have to go. But
Okay.
I drove by it too fast to get in there, and I'm like, oh, I guess OREMS is gone. Let's just keep driving forward and see what happens. So then nothing else exists on this stretch of road.
Right, because it's Connecticut.
Because it's Connecticut, right? Because, like I said, it's boring. It's visually boring. It's visually bland. And we get to a YMCA, and I'm like, I'm turning around. We're going to OREMS. And I got to tell you, this was the first mistake that we made, was turning around in this YMCA. And not for any negative reason, but because I feel that we have ruined YMCAs for Will, like, just going forward.
Oh, no.
Because this is a very affluent area of Connecticut. So
Right.
this YMCA is not like the YMCAs you or I knew growing up. Growing up?
Right, but we're like, people go when they're in desperate need.
Yeah,
right?
no, this is a YMCA that looks like a country club. There's 6 tennis courts. There's a big, like, geodesic dome covering something. I don't know what it was covering.
Probably a pool or something.
But I'm gonna be
like
like,
a
Will,
lap pool
this
or
is
something.
not what YMCAs are like. If this is what YMCAs were like, then the village people would not be lying with that song. This is the YMCA it would be fun to stay at.
Yeah.
So we turn around and we get to OREMS. And it turns out that OREMS is a diner. We didn't know that OREMS was a diner, by the way. We were, like, joking about what it could be, but just the fact that it's, like, this shining oasis on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Where, like, we have to go there. Like, it's calling to us. So we go in, and it's exactly what we needed, because we kind of wanted that, like, dessert after everything that we had been drinking and eating. all day.
Nice. Yeah.
So we go in, and I get an egg cream. Do you know what's in an egg cream? Do you know what egg cream? No, not egg. There's no egg. There's no cream either. It's just chocolate milk. It's a flavored milk with carbonated water.
Mm-hmm.
People should know this. I love them, but I never knew that's what it was.
Like chocolate milk soda is essentially what it is.
Yeah, it's chocolate milk soda. It's delicious. I love it. Will gets a root beer float that they give him in a bowl. Like the glass is a glass, but it's in a bowl because they're like, it's going to get messy. so the bowl will catch all the mess.
Welcome to America, where we have to serve your food within a plate within a bowl.
And then I got a slice of cherry pie a la mode. He got a slice of apple pie a la mode. Wonderful. Just delicious pie. Orum's established in 1921. If possible, the Say Report family, everybody, we're going to be there for the centennial.
Hell yeah, man.
I'd like to do this. I'd like to be there for the centennial.
And what brings you to Orum's? Well, my friend and I were on a drunken rampage to the state of Connecticut one night, and this is where we found ourselves.
There's no better proof that we were on a drunken rampage through Connecticut than the fact that Will bought a shirt.
For Connecticut? Or like
for Orum's.
For
Orum's had shirts for sale.
Even better.
Will's like, and I'll take one of them shirts. So then we're like starved for gasoline. The car is like, I need gas. And I'm like, so we got to find a gas station. So I plug into, we have these phone computers, and we go through and we find this Cumberland Farms. I swear to you, Sejin, I was afraid we had gone through a tunnel into the past.
Oh no.
Like, I'm like, we're in the past. This is not modern times.
Yeah.
I don't know how the phone is still guiding us. Will, I think your car's acting as a Faraday cage. Or like maybe it still has connection. But like, so we go in there and, we get coffees and we get little snacks. And then we go to pay, and it is all of my effort not to ask the kid behind the counter, what year is this?
Tell me, what year is this?
Tell me, boy! What year is it? But I don't say that. I'm able to contain myself. And we get out of Connecticut and back into 2020. I don't know what happened in this time. And then we got to drive into Brooklyn, which, like, unbeknownst to me, New York is just, like, super busy on Tuesday night. I forget what was there. Something was going on. I ended up driving by the Nets game. I drove by the Barclays Center, which was fun. And something else was going on there. And I'm like, oh, that explains all of the traffic that I had to deal with. I don't remember what, though. But I dropped Will off. The best parts about dropping Will off in New York are two. I have to take a left turn onto the street that his sister lives on, but all of the left turns are closed. Like, you can't take left turns right now.
Yeah, people don't drive in New York, man. I don't know what to tell you.
No. Like, it's because they're doing construction.
Right, yeah.
So,
I know.
So,
one of the many reasons people don't drive in New York.
Yeah. So I end up taking a right, and Will's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to loop around. And then I'll get on your sister's street. And then he's like, all right, here's your street. And I turn down that road, and there's a wall. There's like a makeshift wall that's been built because they're doing construction on the other side. And I'm like, well, I don't know how I'm going to get you. And he's like, I can walk from here. I can see the building. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, this was a fun, crazy trip from Harvard to Brooklyn.
That is a crazy fucking road trip to take.
It was a good time. And we just laughed and talked and had a great time. So I said I was going to hang out with Will, and that was my hangout with Will. So do it. Drive across Connecticut. Go to Orum's. Not a sponsor, but I'm going to be championing this place because I want them to get to the centennial. I don't want their books to like not balance in 2020 and then they have to close down before the grand centennial in 2021.
Yeah. Connecticut is, though, like MAGA incarnate. Like when people talk about wanting to make America like great again, and like with the time period they're referring to is the time period that most of Connecticut is firmly stuck in. So just be warned.
Yeah, that's not, you're not wrong with that. It's crazy because a lot of liberals live there too. But
oh yeah, it's not hard to find friends in the area when you're there, but just be warned that you just get to know where you're going sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, New Haven's a pretty safe place. I'll recommend New Haven.
Yeah.
Though all the places I used to drink in New Haven are gone. and that makes me sad. I used to get yards at this little place, and that's now a Shake Shack. And if that's
Oh,
not gentrification.com, like I don't know what else is.
right.
But yeah, so I've
Oh
told you a
man.
little bit of that. What have you been up to? What can you share with the class?
Well, so I think Devin that it's time we've been kind of avoiding it on this show, but I think we got to talk about the Joker a little bit more, Dev.
Oh no, you're right, and
Well,
I'm
we
not
sit
excited
here,
about that.
yeah, we sit here on the cusp of a potential like fucking hat trick for Joaquin Phoenix because he just won the SAG award last night for Best Actor. Definitely picked up that Golden Globe, and so now we're probably going to see him pick up this Oscar. We may very well see him pick up this Oscar as
Who
well
is
for
he
this
up
role.
against? Can
Uh,
you answer that for me? I know Leonardo DiCaprio, but
For the Oscar?
yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
Joaquin
So
Phoenix,
it's
Leo. I'm pretty sure Robert De Niro for The Irishman. I don't know who the other two are.
Adam Driver, I want to say, and I may be thinking of the SAG Awards though. Let me pull them up really quick.
All
It's
right,
very easy
cool.
to do this.
So while he does that,
Oscar.
well, you
Uh,
talk about the fact that
um.
Joker 11 nominations, which is insane.
Mhm.
But the thing that we
Yeah.
talked about Titanic last week, but Titanic won 11 awards. It didn't have 11 nominations. It had like 14 noms, and it won 11.
Oh, okay. All right.
So in order for Joker to be in that same echelon as Titanic, it literally needs to take home every single award that it is nominated for. And I
Yeah.
don't
All
think
right. So we're
it's
looking at
going to
Leo.
win all 11.
We are looking at Leo. We are looking at Adam Driver. And then the other two are Antonio Banderas and Jonathan Pryce. I did not
Oh,
realize that
wow.
Jonathan Pryce got in for two popes.
Yeah. That's another one where, like, I don't know why he's the lead and not Anthony Hopkins. I guess because he's the incumbent and he's the antagonist. But that same question. But yeah, so cool, kinda, I guess. Joaquin Phoenix is gonna
So
win that award, and I don't
yeah,
like. I don't want to be. I don't like to be like defeatist. I don't like to be, everything set in stone. But the only one who I really think could mount a defense against him is none of them. Oh my god! Like I haven't seen
yeah.
Marriage Story yet. Adam Driver is a fantastic actor, but I just it's this unfortunate truth where I don't see anything from Netflix winning. Just because I feel like this was the year that everybody becomes okay with Netflix competing for the Academy Awards, like showing that we understand that they are serious contenders and we're going to accept them into the club. But I doubt that, they win anything that first time out. It doesn't.
Right.
So
Right.
Two Popes and Marriage Story. My parents loved the Two Popes, and I love Noah Baumbach. I love Adam Driver. I don't doubt that he is great in Marriage Story as the latest in the long line of men to play a Noah Baumbach like analog. But
Right.
I don't think that he's going to beat Joaquin Phoenix, who's already won 2 other awards. I couldn't tell you the name of the movie that Antonio Banderas is nominated for. Which
It is Pain and Glory, which you would not be you can be forgiven for forgetting about that film this year. It's one of those smaller films that came out that got a lot of critical reception, but like nobody saw it, and it's the exact kind of movie that like people they get upset because they see this kind of shit in the Oscars all the time, and I'm not saying that films like this should not be recognized. Like all films should be recognized. It's just it's so clearly it's one of those films that creates a very strong barrier between the Academy and the real world. Like if they focus too much on that kind of thing, they come across as very snobby, and I think it unfortunately puts it in this weird position where like people will feel like they can't really vote for it because it's just gonna be a very Hollywood elitist answer, and Hollywood is nothing if not reactionary. so I think at this point in time, it's very hard to be that kind of film in this environment. Whereas Joker, it's a pretty safe bet that like people can just like get behind it. It's already won 2 major awards and has been received not just critically well, but also like audiences have loved it as well. So I think we're staring down the barrel of this of Joaquin Phoenix winning this award, and like so it's a matter of I'm trying to think of the right way to say this because it's not like a coming to terms thing. Like we've talked about already that we disagree a lot with some of the ways that the Oscars go. We've mentioned that we just found the Joker to just be kind of a bland and boring movie. I don't quite understand the reception that it's getting, but I want to, right? Like that's part of why I want to talk about it, is like this idea that like I want to get down to what it might be that seems to have that everybody else in the world is latched onto in this movie, despite the fact that I can't find anybody in my life that actually feels this way about this movie. Everybody else that I've talked to about it, um, seems to be like, oh, I liked it, and then like, but it was like, yeah, do you like it enough for it to win 11 Oscars? No, it's not an Oscar movie. Okay, so then like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening? Like, it's just it's weird for me because I have a lot of personal feelings about it that I'm finding really hard to like parse out. You know, like spoilers for the Joker at this point. We're just
Yeah.
going to talk about some of the stuff that happens in this movie, but like the stuff that they do with Thomas Wayne and the possible relationship between him and Joker's mother, which leads to the idea that like, are the Joker and Bruce Wayne, are they fucking stepbrothers, half brothers?
Half
Like what is
brothers.
that? Which is like a weird thing to add to the lore, right? On top of that, the way that they portray Thomas Wayne as secretly being just terrible, which plays really well nowadays, right? Like the billionaire who's out there promoting, you know, love and happiness to everybody is secretly a huge dick that just wants to all the power, right? Like, and that's part of the reason why I don't like it, is because it's so cheap and so easy right now. Like the way that they've complicated Thomas Wayne in Batman in the past has been phenomenal. The idea of the doctor who, due to his Hippocratic oath, ends up becoming a mob doctor because he feels like he can't let anybody get hurt and he wants to save everyone, including even the worst people, is a great way to complicate Thomas Wayne. You have him working for very shady people then, and being in these really awkward positions, but he's doing them for very honorable reasons, which is a perfect lead in to then Bruce taking up the fight of being a vigilante, despite the fact that that is very much against the law, and how he sees that sometimes it's worth breaking the law in order to do good, right? Like it builds that world in a way that I agree with, that I can get behind, that I feel is the way I want that world built. Whereas like the way they build the world in Joker, it just feels so bleak and not worth saving, which is the point of Joker. Like he should feel that way, but don't do that with somebody like Thomas Wayne. You know, like why not have him involved with like the Cobblepots or something? You know, like some other possibility that they could have gone
Because
with.
people don't know
So
who the
like,
cobble parts are. I don't mean to.
I
I don't
mean,
mean to jump on what you're saying. I don't want to interrupt it.
right.
But
No, that's exactly my point. No, I mean that's exactly my point. Is it's so easy to pick this rather than try and build a world that people have to learn more about the Joker and learn more about Batman. It leans too heavily on just like hot button stuff that people know already about Batman in a way that is just like cheap and fan servicey almost in a lot of ways. Like it just it sucks like from that standpoint. And then like, you know, from the other standpoint of, there was another really good 2019 Joker this year that is just getting completely ignored, and I don't understand it. Fucking Alan Tudyk in the Harley Quinn cartoon show is a fucking revelation as a Joker voice actor. Like it's phenomenal. Part of that is because the TV show is allowed to go to some places that animated Batman has not been able to go before. You know, there's a lot more violence, there's swearing and concepts that are being thrown about that are much more adult themed and things like that. So the Joker's allowed to be somebody that he has not ever been allowed to be in a cartoon show before. But then you add to that the talent of Alan Tudyk and the ability that he has to play a character that is not in and of itself charming, but like thinks they're charming. You know, like it's like the Alan Tudyk special of like the character that just is so convinced that he's the favorite person in the room type of thing that he does. And, you know, and sometimes that's to great, you know, to great effect. With Wash, it ends up becoming very endearing, right? But with the Joker, it becomes just unbearable, and that's the point is in the show. And he shows up in almost every episode of that show, so he is basically main cast for that show, and he fucking just rips that role apart. You know, part of it is that show is cartoonish and comedic too, so the Joker is allowed to be a very particular way, whereas like the movie is very broody and dark, so it can't be. But I don't know, the movie just never quite clicks for me, even on a fundamental level of this is a story about the Joker and Batman. And if it can't work on that level, it's like I can't get past that. And that might be a personal thing. Maybe that's a personal thing. I just cannot get past the fact that above all else, it commits the greatest sin of also just not being a good Joker movie.
okay, so the only person in my life that I've had any discussion about the Joker with is the person that I saw it with, my friend Mark. And he's like, I really want to see it again. It got up in my head. I'd like to see it again. Have you seen it yet? And I hadn't. So I went and I saw Joker and was woefully underwhelmed.
Yeah.
And we saw it. We ended up seeing it like a midnight showing. Like it was a very, very late showing because he has kids at home. So we accommodated that whole thing. And it was actually the weekend that my time at Speed Gaming Live got cut short. So it was like in an effort to do something fun, even though like we weren't able to stay in Virginia because of what happened. So like there was a lot sort of riding on it. But the people I went and saw it with, I saw it with Dale and I saw it with Mark, they both ended up falling asleep during the movie.
Yeah.
And like Mark had seen it before, so I'm like, that's okay. Like if maybe nothing's happening, whatever. But Dale, it's like I don't like feel bad that you're sleeping through this because you're not really missing anything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you know, and my whole feeling towards the movie was that it's very safe, which is not the word you want to use to describe a film with the Joker.
Yeah.
Like you look at Dark Knight Rises and it takes so many changes to the character of the Joker and what he is to make him exist in Christopher Nolan's like realistic Gotham. And it works on this really cool level. And then you also look at Jack Nicholson's Joker, and I mean that for a lot of people that's the first experience with the Joker, and he's a threat. He's a threat in a way that Cesar Ramirez was not. Cesar Romero, not the dog guy. So Cesar Romero.
Caesar Romero. Yeah. Yeah,
Like-
it's just
like he was very campy in that. So it's like Jack Nicholson's Joker is a threat in a way that we never really saw the Joker as a threat. And it also brings into the whole I killed Batman's parents. It folds those two together for ease of access, ease of audience, right? And a lot of people have an issue with that. Especially because, you know, once something's shown in the movie, it becomes sort of canonized in the society mind.
for sure.
So, you know, and then, you know, you have Heath Ledger's, which is this revelation. You have Jared Leto's. I'm not going to let that get away. I like Jared Leto's Joker. I might be the only one who does. I know Dale does, but she just likes Suicide Squad, so that's a whole other thing. But
I have, yeah, and we'll probably talk more about that when the Harley Quinn in the Birds
well,
of
he's not
Prey
going to
comes
be in
out.
it at all. So
Right, but well, there's definitely reference to him in it though. Like they have put pretty blatantly there's lines in the previews about him, but but anyway, so like he's definitely going to be a part of that universe even if he doesn't show his face on screen.
right,
He's
no,
going
and
to be a
that's
huge part
and
of the
also they
story.
could be lying because they said that Benedict Cumberbatch wasn't Khan, and then he was Khan.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would love
but,
for him to come back, but like the Jared Leto Joker in Suicide
Yeah.
Squad, because I just want to collect all my Jokers up. I want to make sure I have all my toys. He really works for me in terms of Jokers because he feels sort of like what a modern gangster would be. Especially, you know, coming off the heels of watching Bad Boys 2, and Bad Boys for Life. Like, they're goofy. Like, they're like, they have fun with the fact that they're killing people and pushing drugs on people. So, like, it almost seems like he did it because he knew that they wouldn't respect him as the leader of their crime syndicate if he did it the way that Joker was always done before.
for sure.
I dig it. I dig that Joker, and I'm not sorry about it. And then you get to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Now he's only Joker truly for about 20 minutes in that film.
I was gonna say maybe 40 minutes, but 20 minutes is probably a better estimate. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's a thing, is that this movie, he's not the Joker for a lot of the movie. So it's kind of hard to look at this character who will become Joker and be like, are you a good Joker or not? When he becomes Joker, I mean, like, standard Joker stuff, like everything's a joke and he shoots Murray and all this other stuff. But I don't know. It's just the movie's very bland to me, and it fails to commit to the one thing that I actually found interesting, which was the fact that he and Bruce Wayne are related. Like, that was such a cool concept to me, and like to show this like huge age difference between the two of them, and this sort of like, it's almost jealousy or like that sibling love for him. Like I'm watching it in Fire Force right now. Fire Force is an anime, and the big like thing is that the main character Shinra is searching for his brother Sho, who he believed died as a child, and then they've just found each other like 20 episodes in, and he's just like, I want to be there for you. I don't care that you're evil. I don't care that I want to be a good brother to you. So. Right. You can kind of see that, like, well, we're brothers, so it's just sibling rivalry stuff that we're doing. But it doesn't commit to that in a way that would have made me happy. It just kind of, like, cheaps out on that whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and so, like, part of what gets me about all of this is that in the comics, we actually already have that dynamic with Bruce Wayne and Thomas Elliot. So, right. Like, I know Batman stories where that exact kind of concept has worked, and I'm not saying this should have been a Thomas Elliot movie. What I'm saying is they could have stolen from those, but they didn't. They don't take anything really from the comics world really too seriously. And I'm gonna dial back here and say I think it would work with the Cobblepots because you're forgetting that we're coming off of the heels of one of the most successful.
Well, I didn't get to finish my statement as to why it wouldn't work with the Cobblepots.
But you said I don't think anybody knows who the Cobblepots are, and I don't think that's true because Oswald Cobblepot is like the role from Gotham. Like he's the dude in that movie. So like if they said that, they would have been just fine.
Let me finish my argument for why it's not going to work, and that is I've been watching Batwoman lately on the CW, very enjoyable. And there's a nice moment where they talk about all the ways that people were executed in Gotham. And that briefly they brought back the firing squad under the leadership of Mayor Cobblepot. And I was excited and I cheered. But everybody I was watching with was like, what is that? Who's Cobblepot? And I'm like, it's the Penguin. So, like, what, you guys, you don't know who, what?
And I don't know what, like, hundreds of people you were watching.
And these are people who watched Gotham, Sejan. These are people who watched Gotham. So it's
and they couldn't put two and two together that Oswald Cobblepot.
And like it's just like I'm just like, oh, okay, never mind. Like that's fine.
I don't think. Yeah, I think people know who Oswald Cobblepot is. There's straight up fucking Tumblr fanfic about him. Like
I want to believe you, and I want to say I'm just saying I had a quantifiable moment where like it was this great thing in Batwoman, and it hit deaf ears for people who watched Gotham. People who like should know who that character is. People like that's not a regular name that you're hearing.
Yeah, but what my big issue is that the movie then doesn't dare to do that. It takes the safe route. It's the cheapest out. The entire movie, every step of the way, is the cheapest choice. Like, every choice that is made is the most obvious, most bland, most boring choice. It's why that movie comes across as boring, is because you see everything coming from a mile away. There isn't a thing in it that you can't just say, like, well, because he did this, obviously that's going to happen, because that's what every other fucking soap opera would be, including them being brothers. It's the most bullshit daytime TV, like reveal ever. Like, they were brothers the whole time. It's just like boo. Like there's nothing behind that. There's nothing creative about that thought. The idea of the Joker and Batman being related is I mean, trash. Like, plain and simple, that's just trash. like that story is just no fun. I mean, like, you can't go anywhere with it now, right? And like they've openly talked about how like they want to do a sequel because of everything that's being super successful, but nobody can figure out what a sequel looks like for this movie, because like without it just becoming a Batman movie, right? Like which they're not going to do.
Dark Knight
now
Rises it, and Joker is in charge of Gotham. He has created a cultural revolution, and he is held up as leader of Gotham City. And then it
but
still
Batman
becomes
is going to have to be part of that story,
movie.
right? Yeah, it just becomes.
I mean, I guess you
can
make it. You can make it a Jim Gordon movie. Like introduce him. It's not going to be what's his name.
I mean,
because he's in Spider-Man.
But I
it's
don't think it's this weird movie that just takes the easy way out. Is because like I think you do something like, just to stick to the metaphor, pick somebody like Oswald Cobblepot to be the possible brother to him instead, and then work your ass off so that people recognize and realize who he is. Drop hints, drop clues, and it's okay if they come out of the movie not quite knowing, but if they've got enough clues to be like, I think that kid was the Joker, I think that kid was the Penguin, and you're like, yeah, and then you as the person that gets to know that gets to like celebrate that. Like, I don't care that people like hear the name Oswald Cobblepot and don't know what it is. I don't care. Still use it. Like the teach them who that is. That's what you should do. Is like a movie should do some work, and this movie does no work whatsoever.
I just think it's very surface. I mean, to finish up the conversation that I had with Mark, is he's like, "So I feel like you didn't really enjoy it," and I'm like, "Well, there wasn't much there. Like, there wasn't
Right.
any substance to that film." And he's like, "Oh, I mean, like you watch movies. I thought that you would have been able to dig deeper and not just have like a shallow interpretation." But I don't see depth in the Joker. Like
There isn't.
maybe I'm missing it, and I don't, but all these like articles and stuff that I'm seeing about like the depth of Joker and like why the whole thing with like the girlfriend is left ambiguous and what happened to her is like I don't know, like I never thought that it was real. Like it never sold me on
I
anything. It never
right.
committed fully enough to anything in that film for me to feel like it deserved my praise.
Right. And I think that any article, because I have not seen anything talking about any depth in that movie, but I think any article that is probably putting a lot of their own depth into it. It sounds like, because I don't think that there is anything more to some of these choices and decisions that were in this movie. Like they're just it's not presented anyway. The only real story that I've heard people latch onto that might give it some depth is the idea of like, well, look at where we are right now with like people in Nazism in America and like people and why people maybe make these decisions for like anarchy and violence. And again, I'd love somebody to actually like whittle that down to like pointing out to moments in this movie where this really kind of works, because I like there's not a moment in this film that crystallizes that. There's not a thought or an idea that is presented in this film that actually like presents that. And in a lot of ways I feel like that's because they didn't want to make that movie because they wanted to play it safe. They didn't want to piss off a bunch of audiences, you know, and they almost did, because there was definitely a contingent of people that were like, don't go see this movie, it's going to glorify the alt-right. But if you actually watch this movie, it doesn't do that at all. So like the only real depth that it could have had, they kind of like cut their own legs off because they didn't want to go there because they wanted to play it safe. I think this movie is just like safe and boring, and that's not what you should be saying about an R-rated Joker film.
Yeah, I mean, like the biggest bloodshed is him shooting Murray, right? Like, there's,
Yeah.
I don't know. It bums me out to talk about the Joker. Is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the end of the day. Like my 2 cents on the Joker is, it doesn't excite me to talk about that film.
Yeah.
And like you can go back to our episode where I saw the Joker. Like there's an episode. It happened in October of last year. Jexy the Joker and the competition that wasn't is the title, and you can hear our first takes. And honestly, I don't think there's any shift between
No.
that then and now. Like even with the 2 months to like think on it and reconsider what's present in that film, it's just something that happened to me. It's
Yeah.
not. It's
Well,
just
and so
that's
like
disappointing in a lot of
right.
ways.
So like a month ago, we had the Harley Quinn series come out and give us an even better Joker than was in that. And despite the fact that Jared Leto may not show his face in Birds of Prey, there is going to be a huge focus on Harley learning to not be with the Joker anymore there. And like you're going to feel more presence from Jared Leto in a movie that he is supposedly not in than I think I would have felt from that I did feel from Joaquin Phoenix in the entire movie in which he was on screen the entire time. You know what I mean? Like you talk about like Jared Leto's character and how maybe ill-received he was to the point where he was kind of run out of the series, right? But at the end of the day, he was impactful. And like you got to say, for that role, for what he chose for it in terms of the look, what they did with it in terms of the style, all that shit, like he definitely made a lasting impression as a Joker. Whereas like Joaquin Phoenix doesn't leave me as a Joker. He creates this very interesting Arthur. Like I almost wonder, and I think I said this at the same time in the last episode too when we talked about it, is that I almost wonder if this movie would work more for me if it wasn't a Joker movie. If it was just a character study of this dude's descent into madness due to a terrible healthcare system not doing their job, the society around him not doing their part to help in any way, like taking that story and then not having to shoehorn a bunch of comic book stuff into it. And it is comic book nonsense. Not that comic books themselves are nonsense. It's what they choose to focus on are the nonsensical parts of comics. Like, if they didn't do all of that, I would totally be much more inclined to give this story a chance. But even then, I still think that not much happens that's very surprising in terms of things like the health care that he doesn't receive and the way that he's treated, and everything is just like it's just obvious. All it does is just kind of like reinforce a lot of like terrible shit I already know is a problem without presenting any solutions for any of it.
So the only way that I could see to make a sequel to that film is Arthur Fleck is not the Joker, but what he did that day inspires the Joker to like come out and become it.
That would save the entire concept for me. If the idea was that there was not one Joker but many Jokers, that would completely change the game for me.
But the only problem with that, there's two problems with that. There's the actual problem, and then there's the like comedy problem, like the problem that I'm going to say is a problem, and I want to admit that like up front that I'm saying that right here. Problem one, the real world problem, is the reason why everybody's hot to trot on making a sequel to Joker 2019 is to get more Joaquin Phoenix as that character.
Yeah.
And the secondary reason is Todd Phillips only knows how to make the same movie as the sequel.
Oh man.
So
yeah. But like, if you definitely did it like some guy in a bar sees everything that's going on and he realizes that he too feels that way and takes up the mantle, that type of thing would be such a more interesting concept and story that would make that world much more interesting to me. You know, like that is definitely a concept I can then get behind. And then all the nonsense with Arthur Fleck possibly being related to Bruce Wayne and all of that suddenly goes away because it's in the background. It goes on the back burner. That's not the story anymore, that they don't commit to because it's not the actual story, right? So like that, in a weird way, that would actually save a lot of this story for me if the reveal was that he was not. And you know, that is straight out of Gotham, to be entirely fair. Like, we should point out that exact concept was, you know, brought to bear on that show not 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they were doing their whole Joker reveal.
I mean, my thing of that was there was a lot of consideration and like thought that Jared Leto was not in fact the first Joker, but Jason Todd as the Joker. That he was the second Joker. Was it Jason Todd?
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Jason Todd is the one that gets got. But I mean, I love that idea, but those movies do not.
I mean, it
doesn't disclaim any of that either.
Right. The evidence for that is you see the Robin suit in the Batcave with that shot, and it has the Joker writing on it. So like that's where people made that connection. And I dig that. I dig that as the idea, like, older Batman, younger Joker, is because, you know, and they borrowed that from, you know, Return of the Joker, from Batman Beyond, and the actual comics. So it worked for me in a lot of ways. That it would still work for me. If you open Joker 2 with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, Arthur Fleck, getting gunned down by the Gotham PD...
or executed at Arkham or something. Yeah,
well, they wouldn't be executed at Arkham. Arkham is a mental institution.
Not by this point. By this point, no, I'm saying in the story, it is turned from mental institution into incarceration.
Is it?
because of Arthur Fleck. Because of Arthur Fleck, it becomes this thing.
Okay. I find it's hard for me to ever imagine an execution at Gotham. That I'm not in Arkham, because that's not what Arkham's about. Arkham is very much a hospital, and we see that as a hospital at the end of Joker, where he murders the person.
Mm-hmm.
There's also, I mean, to go to Zach's theory, every story that he told about how he became the Joker in that movie could just be a lie. So if it's a secondary origin to how he became the Joker, that could also work. It's that same disregard for everything, but you like get to have your Joaquin Phoenix and eat it too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, again, in order for it to do these things, you really have to put a lot of faith in your audience, which you seem to think they may not have much faith in their audience.
It's not that I don't have faith in the audience. It's that I don't believe Todd Phillips has faith in his audience.
Right. You'd have to put a lot of faith in your audience to just go with you on some things. And if you're not willing to do that, which they clearly weren't, because this entire movie is they're doing whatever they think the audience is going to want to see them do, is like, and it clearly worked. I think a lot of people very much enjoyed this movie because it was exactly what they wanted it to be. Like a lot of people went into that movie wanting a very particular style of film from it and a particular story from it, and they got that. And it was just that that's not the story I wanted and not the type of film I wanted to see. And sure enough, I wasn't happy with it, right? So I don't know. It's one of those things that is going to be now in the water for years to come. It's going to change the way that DC does movies, plain and simple. And
But
that's
it's not
just
going to
like the most
affect
obvious thing that's
Wonder
gonna
Woman
change.
84. It's not going to affect Birds of Prey. So
It is going to affect future movies in terms of like, well, maybe they opt to not do another Wonder Woman because they're going to try and do maybe a darker, grittier version of a different character.
Right.
Like, like it's not going to change the movies that are already coming. Right. You're right. They're not
I
going to
just
cancel
don't.
Birds
I
of
don't
Prey.
want to be all bleak. I don't want to be like super depressing with the fact that because of Joker and its success, don't get excited about these. Like I'm stupid excited about Birds of Prey. I'm very excited about Birds of Prey. But also, along that same line, I wonder if the tagline of "And the Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn" would have been the subtitle before Joker did as well as Joker did. Does that make sense? Is that a...
I mean, it was the subtitle before Joker came out. That's been the
Okay.
subtitle since
I did not
July
know
or
that.
August
I
of
was
this year.
okay.
Yeah.
I always heard it being called Birds of Prey, and it wasn't until Joker came out in theaters that I saw the subtitle of The Fabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
No, I think the big problem that people have had is that I don't think Harley Quinn was actually in the script for this movie until after Suicide Squad, and essentially they shoehorned her into a Birds of Prey script that already existed that a lot of people are having issues with. But we'll see what happens there.
Right. I don't know. I'm excited about it. It's 2 weeks out, and So, can I shift away from this? Is there anything else you want to talk on? I'd like to try to end on a happy note.
Sure.
Because you made me sad, Sejan. I didn't want to be sad.
I'm sorry I made you sad.
Well, you didn't make me sad. Joker and its continued cultural relevance made me sad. You just happened to bring it up. I can't blame you for that. You didn't make the movie. You didn't tell people that it was... I don't know. He's going to win. If it were Brad Pitt against him and not Leonardo DiCaprio, I think that Brad Pitt could beat him. But... Brad Pitt's character in Once Upon a Time in Mexico is the better character. Jesus. I feel so defeatist in that. So let's shift away. Let's clear the air. I want to talk about Bad Boys for Life. And I don't want to talk about the whole movie. I just want to say third time was the charm with Bad Boys for Life. This is a movie where, I feel like everybody was on board with the script. The directors were happy to be there. The actors were happy to be there. Go see Bad Boys for Life. Can you confirm if it won this weekend for me? Are you able to do that?
Let's take a look.
I would be
Box Office
surprised
Mojo
if it
sucks
didn't.
nowadays, but
Yeah, well, what can you do? Thanks, IMDb. Let's acquire this and then try to destroy it. I don't think...
it so far has definitely taken the weekend.
It's Monday, so...
Yeah.
I know that it's a long weekend.
It's a holiday. Yeah, it's a holiday weekend, man. So Monday is going to be included in these numbers.
Right.
But yeah, no. It's so far it's a few million dollars ahead of Doolittle.
That's good. Doolittle is number 2, though. That makes me very happy because Doolittle is being panned across the internet, and I don't understand why. I loved Doolittle. I saw both of them. That was my double feature on Thursday. Was Bad Boys for Life and Doolittle, and I had a great time with both. So I want to say see them, and I really got to tell you, see Bad Boys for Life in a theater, because I think that may have added to the experience, because the guy sitting next to me was so excited for Bad Boys for Life, and also, during the Morbius trailer, which we got to see before it, he, tapped my shoulder, and he's like, can I talk to you about this movie right now? And I'm like, sure, stranger, let's talk about the movie.
About Morbius?
About Morbius. He's like, how you feel about
Yeah.
this? I'm like, I'm excited. He's like, they turned him into Dracula. And I'm like, well, they turned him into Dracula in that one comic, so it doesn't really bother me, but I get where you're coming from. But I'm still excited about Morbius. So
There's a lot of like shot for shot from the comics in that one little preview too.
I know,
Like you can't get too upset about the storyline because like they're clearly paying their due to the character.
But I mean, but if you're one of those things, like a lot of people know Michael Morbius' character from the 1990s Spider-Man animated series, where he is more of a plasma vampire, and I'm not going to deny that that's definitely something that happened in the comics. But there is that whole comic line where he injected himself further with bat DNA, thinking that that would reverse the transformation, and it turned him into a big old vampire Batman. So, you know. But yeah, Bad Boys for Life, I didn't really... Obviously, if you listen to the last episode, I wasn't a fan of the first two. Loved the third one. And I bought the PS2 game, which I spent most of today playing.
Nice.
Man, I gotta tell you, it's got a lot going for it. It suffers from a lot of the issues of like retro games in ways that like we think is, oh, that's novel now, but like, oh, it was annoying. Like if you die at the boss fight, you start the whole level over. And that's just like, oh wow, that's 2005 video games for you.
I was gonna say that's some PS2 era bullshit.
Yeah, and it's because it's disappointing because like some of the levels are kind of short and you can speed through most of them, which I really dig. But like I just got to the boss fight. That's why I was like, give me 5 before we recorded tonight, because I'm like, I'm at the boss of this, and you know, one misstep and I died, and it's like back to the beginning, and I'm like, well, that's just stupid, because I thought I was done. Now I gotta go through this stupid museum again. But it's not Will Smith or Martin Lawrence doing the voices. It's not even sound-alikes doing the voices. And it is that PS2, like, we recorded 5 responses, and you're just going to hear them the whole game.
Oh, man.
Annoying. But hey, I recommend that, too, if you can find a copy of it. You just got to turn up the sensitivity of the triggers. Because it starts it out at 50%.
You want to be a real bad boy.
You need to move. When I move my thumbstick, he needs to move his gun. And it doesn't happen like the way that it's set initially. But, you know, I'm playing it, and every time I kill people, I'm like, I'm a bad boy for life. Snick, this, snick, this, snick, this, snick, this, snick. So it's fun. Like I didn't think I would ever have that kind of fun with it. So yeah, I recommend the Bad Boys. I recommend Doolittle. Go see Doolittle. Give it a shot. Don't listen to what everybody is saying on the internet. It's fun. It's a fun movie. And if you know nothing about Doolittle, I think you'll like it even more, maybe. But you have to give it a shot. You have to actually go out there and commit to wanting to see the film. And I want to celebrate films like this that are good, that are not the Joker. Just in a weird way. Hell, go and watch Yogi Bear from 2010, because I did that this weekend too. And that's a weird
like the
movie.
big lineup, like let's talk about this weekend, because Bad Boys for Life #1, Doolittle #2, 1917 still holding in strong at 3, Jumanji The Next Level coming in after that, and then Star Wars after that. Like there's 5 movies right there that you are guaranteed to have a good time with if you go and see it. Like really, and like go and enjoy that before sometime in the next 2 weeks when we have to then just acknowledge Joker, hopefully for the last time. I don't know, like. Part of it is that I think before this moment, I was trying really hard to not shit all over Joker because so many people clearly liked it. But I'm slowly realizing that it doesn't need that kindness from me. So there you go.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't think that, like, even then, I feel like we were pretty kind to it. I could be really mean to Joker. There are, like, just things that don't make any sense in that movie. I could yesterday all over Joker. To the fact that while we were talking about Joker, I was mistaken scenes from yesterday as having taken place in Joker. And I'm like, well, that's not Joker, Devon. I don't know why your mind connected those two things. But also, just other like quick stuff. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is pretty great if you're on the fence about it. If you like Dragon Ball, it's a good game. I enjoy it, and I am a casual Dragon Ball Z fan, so
nice.
I recommend.
So
that.
How deep into the story is it?
Oh, it's the full friggin' game. It's
Okay.
the full saga. It goes
Okay.
from the Saiyan invasion all the way through the Buu saga.
Okay, interesting choice there, but that's actually cool to hear as somebody that hasn't really watched since the Boo Saga, so that's good to
So
hear.
it's everything. It's supposed to cover the entire everything from Dragon Ball Z. So before you got
What's
to
the timing on that game? Are we talking about like a 300-hour game?
uh I don't know. I haven't gotten out of currently I am Piccolo monitoring Gohan's training.
Nice.
So it's that whole sequence where he like, if you can survive in the wild for 6 months, I will. Then you'll get the glory of being trained by the Demon King Piccolo.
Okay, how many
So,
hours in are you?
uh, I'd say about 4.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
It moves. All right.
yeah, it moves and it's fun. Like I got to fight the big monkey. Like that was the last major thing I did. Is
Nice.
Gohan turning into the ape during the full moon, and as Piccolo, I had to fight him and subdue him.
Nice.
But it's like an hour and a half tutorial, like learning how to play the game. So I feel like that's probably dissuading a lot of people because it's not getting great like reviews out there. Like people are saying what they're saying about it. But yeah, like it's all tutorial until you beat Raditz and Goku dies. Spoilers for Dragon Ball Z. I mean, you don't stay dead for long, but
Yeah.
like that's how Dragon Ball Z opens is with Kakarot dying. So and all of that is tutorial. You're still learning like little things because it's an RPG. So like 300 hours, not a crazy like thing with
No,
an
that's
RPG like that.
yeah. No, I know, and that's why I was kind of expecting you to say that you were not even had made a dent in it yet, or at this point at least had spent a good 20 hours with it if you were already doing this with some Gohan stuff. But no, I'm glad that that it seems to be enjoyable for you. I just get so put off by like anime based video games because I feel like especially things like this or if a One Piece game comes out or anything, it's just like I am so not in that world already, and I feel like that's a huge barrier for entry with those games.
Yeah, it's I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm 8 years old again
Cool.
because I saw that first episode of Dragon Ball Z Sunday morning back when the family still lived in Templeton, Massachusetts. And I remember, like, I knew what Dragon Ball was because I used to watch that after school. But I remember watching that first episode of Dragon Ball Z and being like, "Oh, it's Goku, and he's an adult, and he has a kid," and then him, getting killed, and I'm just like, "Holy shit, what is this?" And
Yeah.
then like, and I would catch it occasionally Sunday mornings. Like it wasn't, we didn't have Toonami back then. Toonami didn't really come into existence for like 5 more years.
Yeah.
But then I remember when Toonami did come into existence and all these people got into it. I'm like, you know, I've been watching Dragon Ball Z for years. It's not new. Like I watched it well before. But it's like that feeling where I'm like, I remember being a kid and being like, this is kind of cool. So it captured that nostalgia for me. But like, I never went beyond the Cell saga. That was
Okay.
always where I stopped. And Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is what got me into like I've gone through a bit of an anime renaissance. Like I now have like 3 shows that I definitely like. I would die for them, and I don't want to be like crazy, but I would die for Black Clover, Fire Force, and Doctor
Oh,
Stone.
I was gonna say if you're an anime fan, you're already crazy. It's too late, man.
Yeah,
Especially if you're watching shit like Black Clover. But it's yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. I'm 101 episodes in. I can't believe I watched 101 episodes of Black Clover. I like it's just this thought where I'm like, first of all, kudos to Cartoon Network for like that's with like 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
They've been showing like new Black Clover like crazy. And like yesterday watching the 101st episode, I'm like, it doesn't feel like I've watched 101 episodes of this show. I love it. I would die for Asta. You my little boy. You my little Asta boy.
Well, we're gonna have to do a little bit more of a deeper dive on some anime soon because
I'm excited.
I have questions now that I know how deep into the world you are.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I'm all about it. I'm all about talking about it. So that's fun. That's something we'll talk about this season as well. And final thing for me before I throw it to Siegen for his final thoughts is River City Girls on Steam has received a patch that changes the ending. And all I want to do is go and find out what the ending is, but I'm going to wait until the patch comes to PS4, and then I'll experience it real time. But there is a chance that they have addressed the issues that I had with it. So it was my game of the year last year. I still stand by that, but there's a chance that they either botched it even further
Yeah,
or
there's always
like
that chance of that. Yeah,
rewarded all these people who felt betrayed by the end of it. And I don't know, did I mention that I ran into a soft lock on the Switch version of the game? Did I mention that here? Did I tell you about that?
I don't know if we talked about it here. We did talk about it, you and I, but we should just bring it up just in case anybody's thinking about buying it on the Switch instead. They should know this happens.
So I don't know what happened. I have ideas about why it happened because it's very similar to something that when Dale and I were playing through the regular game, where we did something and a trophy didn't pop for her. But the final thing, you collect explosives. And I collected all 4 explosives, and it says that I only have 3 in my inventory. But because I picked them up, there's no other explosive to pick up. And I actually contacted WayForward, the publishers of the game, directly to be like, is there a fix for this? Is this a known issue? And they had not heard about it. They tried to figure out a fix, and they could not. So all of my progress in River City Girls on the Switch was forfeited. And when I say all of my progress, I mean the last thing I had to do was beat the final boss of the game. So just buyer beware on the Switch version of it. I didn't run into it on the PlayStation version at all. Again, Dale and I were doing a lot of co-op on that, so I don't know if the fact that it wasn't co-op may have triggered it or something like that, but I do want people to be aware of it, and I also want you to know that, I want to give a kudos to WayForward, and specifically Aaron, the member of their support staff who I was interacting with about it, because I was just expecting, boilerplate form letter sort of response to it, but they took the time to write me a very in-depth, report and to apologize for what happened and to thank me for bringing it to their attention. So,
damn, Aaron.
We, the first episode of this show, we talked about Shantae, which is published by WayForward as well. So, WayForward is a good company in terms of, trying to care about, they tried to find it, and it seemed it felt like he was actually upset that he couldn't fix my issue.
Yeah, no, I mean, you never like to hear about that shit if you're a creator of any kind, that something is not working as intended, because it means that somebody's having a shit experience, and it's not because of them disagreeing with your work. Quite the opposite. You're talking to a true fan that wants to enjoy your work, and they just can't, and that sucks. That's gotta suck. But yeah, no, kudos and shout out to Aaron. That's fucking great. That's awesome.
So
man.
Thank you, WayForward, and hopefully maybe this patch that's coming, because the big changes are, you don't trigger door transitions with a single press of a button. They've changed that. They added the ending, and they fixed items that were supposed to give you certain issues and powers weren't working. That's been fixed. But then bug fixes and such. So maybe it's coming, but who knows? But yeah, that's just a heads up because I haven't run across it in any other version. So Seijin, anything else from you? Because I feel like I've just gone and gone and gone.
No, like I said, it's like I was saying earlier, Joker has definitely got me, feeling squishy and stuff. But there's other stuff out there that's been working for me. So if you take anything away from this, it's go find some weird stuff this year. Go check out some things on the fringes. I'm glad you brought up Doolittle because I've not heard things one way or the other about its reception, but I do know that in its marketing there was a lot of people that were very down on it. A lot of people very upset because they felt like it was just Disney doing Pirates of the Caribbean again, not recognizing that it wasn't Disney making it. And so I think that might have hurt it in some fashion. I know a lot of people that were just I'm sick of another Disney epic. I don't need that right now. And it's well, it's a good thing it's not a Disney epic then. But yeah, so just find that weird thing. Go ahead.
Can I respond to that? I feel like that was Universal's whole plan. Was the person goes, "Oh, I don't want another Disney epic," and then it's "Oh, it's Universal. Sign me up."
Yeah. Yeah.
But that connection just never happened.
Yeah. Well, and they did themselves no favors. I mean, they promoted the hell out of the fact that they were using a bunch of people from the
from the MCU.
Caribbean universe and the MCU and all that sort of stuff as like producers and things like that. So like they clearly were trying to lean into that a little, and I think they did themselves no favors by doing that.
It ended up being a disservice.
Yeah. But yeah, so go check out some weird stuff. Check that out. I mean, check out the Harley Quinn cartoon show. I mean, if you like Venture Brothers, it is basically Venture Brothers, but also they have writers from like the old animated show, like Paul Dini and Bruce Timm and stuff are working on it. So like you get a really good mix of like reverence for the world of Batman, but also God, it's probably the funniest like DC show that I've seen in a while. And getting Alan Tudyk to do some DC comedy again has been delightful ever since was it Damage Control or whatever
Doom
it was
Patrol.
that fell apart there.
Oh.
No, not no.
You're talking
no,
about
no.
Damage Control, yeah, with Ron
yeah.
Funches, who also shows up in the Harley Quinn cartoon. So
main character as fucking King Shark. And
yeah.
he's glorious. I mean, the whole fucking cast is just phenomenal. And
I gotta tell you,
Diedrich Bader is Batman. Diedrich
Bader is my favorite Batman. Like outside of Kevin Conroy, like if I had to list it, I love Batman: The Brave and the Bold. I'm a sucker for team ups anyway, and that show is just team ups.
Yeah.
I love Diedrich Bader, American Housewife, and and Drew Carey. We talked about that as well. So like,
let's bookend this whole episode with Diedrich Bader, please.
Yeah,
his character in fucking Balls of Fury. I'm saving the panda.
I'm saving the panda. Panda's dead. Yeah, we're still the same Say Report. We haven't forgotten how much we love Balls of Fury.
Yeah, but see, like that's what I mean. Go out and find some weird stuff that makes you happy this year, because apparently award season is just going to dump a pile of crap on all of us.
Or at least Siegen specifically. So if you'd like to offer your condolences or share the weird stuff that you're watching with Siegen, he's available on Twitter at Siege versus the World.
And if you have any other weird places for Devon to drag Will, go ahead and hit Devon up at Devon D. Decker.
Thank you so much. So until next time, let's throw it to the man himself. Will, take us home.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Selwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.